Hello and welcome back to Football Daily, where today we are giving you an XI of the worst team of the year. It wasn't easy, but here's what we've come up with. Let's get going. Goalkeeper, Manuel Neuer. We had a serious debate about whether to make Loris Karius our team's keeper. The 25-year-old began the year as the first choice stopper for one of the best sides in Europe, but after a calamitous performance in the Champions League final, handing Real Madrid 2 of their 3 goals, he now finds himself on loan at Besiktas. But Manuel Neuer's fall is arguably even worse. The 32-year-old sat out all but 3 games of the 2017-18 season with injury, seeing Sven Ulreich picking up a league title in his absence, as well as earning Bayern's Player of the Year award. Though the Bavarians have been outshot just once in the league this campaign so far, they've lost 3 and drawn 3 of their opening 14 matches. In that time, Neuer has faced 34 shots on target and conceded 18 goals, giving him a woeful save percentage of 47%. Last season in the Prem, that would have been the worst in the division by 15%. Even at the World Cup, where he conceded 4 in 3 games, losing the ball while wandering around on the wing in South Korea's half for one of them, Neuer still saved 10 of 14 shots on target, or 71%. Though of course Germany suffered the shame of a first round exit, finishing bottom of their group. With Marc-Andre ter Stegen waiting in the wings, Neuer needs a stellar 2019 to keep his number 1 shirt. Defender, Djibril Sidibe. Given that he won the World Cup this year, you might think a lot of players would be happy to have as bad a 12 months as Djibril Sidibe, but the Frenchman has seen his reputation plummet in 2018. Linked with moves to Manchester United and Atletico Madrid in January, Sidibe's Monaco were in decline already in 2017-18. The Principality outfit going from allowing 0.8 goals a game the year before to letting in 1.2 a match in Jardim's last full campaign. Injury saw Sidibe barely scraping into the France squad for the summer's tournament, losing his place to centre-back Benjamin Pavard, and he was ultimately only trusted to play in Les Bleus' final group game, a dead rubber against Denmark. But still, a medal pointed to the possibility of a strong 18-19. Briefly. With Thierry Henry taking over from Jardim after 9 league matches, it's hard for any Monaco player to emerge from the first half of the season with any credit. But Sidibe has been worse than most. He has 12 club appearances so far, and unbelievably has lost 10 of those games, drawing the other 2. In that time, Monaco have conceded 27 goals, including 5 in 2 matches against Belgian minnows Club Brugge, and Sidibe earned a rating of 1 out of 10 from L'Equipe in his most recent appearance, a 4-0 defeat to PSG. With no sightings in over a month at the time of writing, Sidibe more than deserves a spot in our XI. Defender, Benedict Howard. 30-year-old Benedict Howard doubled his domestic trophy tally in 2018, winning a league and a cup double on loan at Juventus from Schalke. A World Cup winner too, Howard was intended to help fill the gap left by Leonardo Bonucci's departure to AC Milan, but in the end played just 248 minutes in Serie A, of roughly 7% of the available game time. Bonucci's return meant Juventus declined to exercise their purchase option on the German, and he headed back to Schalke, who had finished second, their best placement since 2010 in his absence. Domenico Tedesco decided an aging reject was surplus to requirements, and Schalke managed to ship their former captain out to Lokomotiv Moscow, who hoovered up Europe's rejects in 2018, with Eder joining from Lille permanently and Krakowiak arriving from PSG. Hilariously, Lokomotiv ended up in Schalke's Champions League group, alongside Porto and Galatasaray, with the German side finishing second and heading through to the round of 16, while the Russians lost 5 of their 6 games and came bottom. A final humiliation in a year full of them for Howarders. Defender, Victor Lindelof. One Man United defender had to make our XI. The only question was which one. We've gone for Victor Lindelof thanks to the combination of his big fee and poor stats. And the Swede has been at the heart of the deteriorating team in 2018-19. It seemed the club's central defender couldn't get worse after last season, when David De Gea saved them from embarrassment, but this year they've gone from allowing 11.5 shots per game to 12.6. While they ranked 5th in the Prem for expected goals against 2017-18, they are now 13th between Bournemouth and West Ham, so it's clear that the defensive pressure tends to turn into good shots against the Red Devils, and Lindelof has been one of their first choice defenders this season, alongside Chris Smalling and a revolving door of midfielders pressed into service by a spiteful Jose Mourinho. With 2.4 tackles and interceptions a game, Lindelof is doing the bare minimum, especially seeing as United currently spend as much time in their own third as their opponents, at 26%. He also wins a lower percentage of aerial duels than any other centre-back at Old Trafford, and has failed with 33 of the 53 long balls he's attempted. At 24, the former Benfica man should be showing his quality by now, but instead is anchoring the worst United side since Moyes left. Midfielder, Nemanja Matic. A year and a half after he moved to Manchester United, and it's almost like paying over £40 million for a then 29-year-old was a bad idea. As we pointed out above, Matic's time at Old Trafford has seen a steady decline in the team's ability to stop teams getting good quality chances. And while Pogba, Martial and Bailey have all been blamed at various points, Matic is the man who is meant to prevent United shipping shots. However, the Serb managed under 4 tackles and interceptions a game in his first year, and now he's managed to slide further, winning possession just 2.9 times per 90 minutes. When he tries to make a tackle, he's likely to win it, having slipped from a tackle success rate of 70% in his Chelsea prime to under 60% now. And it's not like he's making up for it with attacking output, having laid on just 30 goal-scoring opportunities in his 49 league appearances for Manchester United. The frustrating thing is that as bad as Matic is, Pogba will almost certainly continue to get the blame for all the Red Devils' structural issues in the centre of the park. But to anyone paying attention, it's obvious where the problem is. Midfielder, Sami Khedira. A useful part of Max Allegri's squad since his arrival from Real Madrid in 2015, Sami Khedira has seen the Bayern Canary grow beyond him over the last year, as he has started to lose energy which characterised his peak as a player. To be honest, it's often been hard to tell what exactly Khedira is good at, with his defensive numbers generally only around 2 tackles and interceptions a game during his whole time in Italy. His shots are barely over 1 per match, and he creates just 1 chance every 3 games. In fact, the last year Khedira put up above average numbers in any category, like in 2012, when he won possession over 4 times a game for Real Madrid. But at least he genuinely showed an understanding of where to be on the field, supporting play in both attack and defence. However, the World Cup demonstrated his loss in athleticism and awareness, as he lost possession 5 times in just 118 minutes on the field, and Germany conceded 72% of attacks straight down the middle of the pitch, where Khedira and Cruz were meant to be. Another domestic double earned Khedira a new contract lasting until 2021, when he'll be 34, but on this form, he's unlikely to see much action in Turin between now and then. Midfielder, Leon Goretzka. Based on his output in 2018, it's hard to figure out why Bayern Munich's Leon Goretzka is so highly rated. In some ways, he's like Andre Gomez, an elegant presence on the ball, but lacking outstanding stats in attack or defence. Last season, at Schalke, the 23-year-old racked up 4 tackles and interceptions a game, a solid number, but produced just 1 shot in the box per 90 minutes, while dribbles and key passes were below 1 a match. But perhaps that was down to Schalke's coach Tedesco's defensive setup, and Goretzka was due an explosion when he moved to Bayern on a free in the summer. He now scores or assists every 3 games rather than every 4, but shots, dribbles and chances created have all remained stationary, while defensive actions have plummeted to just 2.5 a match. And in the middle of all this, Goretzka made his World Cup debut in Germany's 2-0 defeat to South Korea, meaning that in just 12 months, he's been a part of the worst Germany side in years and the worst Bayern in a decade. It's almost impressive. Midfielder, Jack Wilshere. Form man constantly praised for his fighting spirit. Jack Wilshere spent a great deal of 2018 complaining. First, he missed out on the England's World Cup squad and moaned about his omission on Twitter, despite playing under 1,200 league minutes for Arsenal, 300 fewer than Alexis Sanchez, who left the club in January. The decision was vindicated by England's excellent tournament, but Wilshere had not suffered his last disappointment. The departure of Arsene Wenger and the appointment of Unai Emery meant that the midfielder was not offered a new contract with the Gunners, and was allowed to leave on a free after 17 years with the club. That's perhaps not surprising, given that Emery intended to build an energetic pressing team, and Wilshere won the ball back only 1.5 times a game in 2017-18, roughly the same as Mesut Ozil. Meanwhile, the 26-year-old lost the ball more frequently than any other Arsenal midfielder, at nearly twice a match. Clearly expecting to be a guaranteed starter for West Ham, Wilshere started just 4 of the Irons' 14 league games to date, seeing Manuel Pellegrini build a system around 19-year-old Declan Rice and veteran Mark Noble instead. Yet another poor year for the Englishman. Forward, Andriy Yarmolenko. Staying in East London as we move into the front line is Yarmolenko. He went into 2018 already smarting from a rough 2017, having ended the year with Ukraine missing out on World Cup qualification in their final game, suffering a 2-0 loss to Croatia to finish behind them and Iceland in UEFA Group I, despite Yarmolenko finishing as top scorer in the group. On the club level, things were a little better. Dortmund had shelled out €25 million in the summer of 2017 in the hope that Yarmo could help fill the hole left by Ousmane Dembele, but he barely scraped 1,000 minutes in the league, contributing to just 5 goals in that time. Marco Reus played 100 fewer minutes but was still involved in 2 more goals, and when West Ham offered €20 million to give Yarmolenko a fresh start in London, it seemed like a good move for everyone. The 29-year-old started the first 4 games of the season on the bench, then finally convinced Manuel Pellegrini to put him in the starting XI, only to suffer an Achilles injury 5 matches later and be ruled out for 6 months. He ends 2018 having played a grand total of 594 minutes of club football all year, while earning €6.4 million or €10,774 per minute. Forward, Christian Benteke. Here at Football Daily, we're big fans of expected goals and looking beneath the raw goals and assists to see whether what a player is doing is sustainable. But sometimes a forward could be doing all the right things, getting in position, finding space, getting off shots and still not score. And Christian Benteke has taken that further than anyone in the last 2 years. With his last 2 transfer fees combined in excess of €70 million, Benteke was once highly regarded. Before 2017, he'd got into double figures in 4 of his 5 previous Premier League campaigns, hitting 9 in the other, and had averaged a goal exactly every 2 games since joining Aston Villa in 2012. But his 17-18 campaign produced 3 league strikes from an expected goals tally of 11. And he was left out of Belgium's World Cup squad, missing a scintillating run to the semi-finals. Back in England, Benteke has picked up exactly where he left off this term, so far averaging 3.6 shots a game, with 3 from inside the box, and yet scoring 0. That means that his paltry 4% conversion rate from last year has now sunk to 0, and the striker looks incapable of beating a keeper ever again. A year to forget, and at 28, Benteke is running out of chances to rescue his reputation. Forward, Karim Benzema. Karim Benzema won a 4th Champions League in 2018 and even scored in the final, the first time he had ever done so. However, it's hard to give him credit, given that it literally took carriers throwing the ball into him for the Frenchman to get on the score sheet. And while his tally of 5 goals in 9 UCL appearances looks solid, he was actually involved in fewer goals in Europe than left-back Marcelo. In domestic football, Benzema was significantly worse. His 2017-18 saw a return of 5 goals in 32 games, giving him a conversion rate of 8%. Horrible, compared to Gareth Bale's sky-high 21%, and even Sergio Ramos' 14%. That was from an expected goals total of 14-2, making Benzema the biggest underperformer in La Liga. But once Ronaldo left, Real Madrid's fans were optimistic, claiming that their number 9 would no longer have to sacrifice himself for the Portuguese and would return to being a top centre-forward. They were wrong. 15 games into the 18-19 season, Benzema has already matched his 5-goal tally from the year before, but that's a hardly impressive return for Real Madrid's first-choice striker. Meanwhile, his expected goals and expected assists per 90 minutes have dropped from a combined 0.89 to 0.56, suggesting that Ronaldo's presence was actually helping and not hindering Benzema. Oh, and he had to watch his compatriots win the World Cup without him. So that's our exile of the worst team of the year. If we've missed anyone out or you have any suggestions, please comment below. And as always, like and subscribe. And have a Merry Christmas.